right, church. Well, we are winding down our series on taking thoughts captive, talking about the battlefield of the mind, right? You and I are in every single day. And last week we saw the thought we were battling is you're a failure, okay? How could you? You see the rundown of the 6 weeks there. This is a thought of defeat, a thought of regret or condemnation that plagues us, okay? And we saw, hey, after we strain out the false guilt, what we actually need to do, rather than arguing against the accusation, we actually accept it as true and then run straight to the cross, right? That's our checkmate. Because the enemy has no answer for the cross. It's but God. Okay, well, last August, I turned 40, which, hey, big deal, right? Big deal. There we go, over the hump. Back goes out more than I go out now, right? It's one of those things. The students call me the bald pastor. Looking at you. And I look forward to getting socks for Christmas, okay? What a milestone, hitting 40. All these things are happening. Well, my dad decided for that milestone to take me to Pebble Beach, okay? If you're not a golfer, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, okay? This should like be opening your eyes like, wow, yeah, like it's so iconic. Like, I've always dreamed of being at this place, okay? The rocky coastline of California, just beautiful, beautiful course. And I don't know how you operate with something exciting, but my intensity-driven mind, like lasers in the focus, okay? So months out, I'm like reading about all the holes. I'm like strategizing how I'm gonna play them. I'm visualizing them. I'm going through all the preparation work, right? There's a lot of buildup that's coming until that moment in August. I finally stand on the first tee, all right? Now, I gotta tell you something before I tell you what happened, okay? You need to know I've probably hit 500,000 golf balls in my life, all right? Like, here's a picture of me when I was 1 or 2, I don't even know. That's me, hitting balls in the snow. There we go. Like, I grew up, I lived on the golf course. Like literally, in middle school and high school, we lived on the 18th hole, okay? I just walked out there. I worked at the golf course for several years. Like, this is my life, okay? And so the point I'm trying to make is hitting a golf ball was not something new to me, right? Not something scary. And yet, there I was, first tee, legs shaking. I mean, absolutely quivering, right? Like if you had like swam in the Arctic Ocean and got out, like that's what I would look like. I don't know if you ever have like out of body experience. You can't even feel your legs. Like, am I even walking? Like, where am I? Like that was me. I could barely stand up, okay? And so I'm getting over the ball and I swing and I hit it and it takes off and it immediately puts its blinker on. It turns right, and it's just this massive banana slice right into a house. Like, I didn't know there were houses on the first floor. I didn't either. You can't see them, but they're there. They're just way back there, okay? Pressure can do a lot to a person. Scientifically speaking, pressure comes from two things, temperature and weight, okay? So the temperature, it's the heating up busyness of kinetic energy, right? Now, the weight, it's the pulling down heaviness of gravity. And both of these forces, the higher they come against you, the greater the pressure. And that's not just science, we know, like that's life, right? Like as things speed up, as things weigh down, the pressure builds. And we start to tell ourselves, you have to. You've got to. I must. If I don't do this, what will happen? So just get it together. Pull it together. Keep it together. Like, isn't this not so often our self-talk? The racing chatter in our head, hey, make sure you blank. I can't forget to blank. Oh, if I could just blank. And then we tell ourselves, come on, like, what's your problem? Just get it done. You better. Or else. Or else what? Or else, I don't know, you'll lose your job. You'll get sick. They'll leave you. Your weakness will be seen. All the things come into mind. And so we conclude, I've got to hold it together. It's up to me. There's financial pressure, there's relationship pressure, health pressure, house pressure, parenting pressure, pressure when you step up to order your food and you don't know what to get, right? Pressure to be on time, like even leisure and sports and hobbies and theater and music. There's pressure in that. You're in the spotlight. Life is one big pressure cooker, is it not? And I want to introduce you for a moment to the prince of pressure, okay? The sultan of steam himself, Denis Papin, the French physicist who invented the pressure cooker. There it is. Yeah, 1679. Wow. He called it a steam digester, actually. And the prototype was a little unsafe, right? And if you have one, you understand. Like, you've ever had pot roast plastered on your ceiling? Like, you get it. Like, pressure is powerful. It's powerful. Maybe today you're crumbling under pressure. Like, it's just shutting you down and you can barely stand up. Maybe today you're combusting under pressure and you're blowing up. Maybe you're running from thoughts or problems, and maybe you're spewing them out. Maybe today, maybe you don't even see it, but you're trying to compress it all. Just push it down. Act like you got this. But meanwhile, it's churning and building inside. Here's been my prayer all week for today, that today would be a pressure release valve. That the Lord in his mighty goodness to us, as we take these thoughts captive, would de-pressurize us. So here we go. Let's start by teasing out the types of pressure, okay? I want us to understand how we operate. Number one, there's a performance-driven pressure I think we battle. We have to uphold the expectation. Hey, meet that standard. Hey, make that grade. Be a certain way. Achieve and don't fail. Maybe this comes from a parent. Maybe it's a coach or a friend. Maybe it's just yourself. There's self-pressure, right? Perfectionism. I've got to be this way. It could look like the busy-bodied productivity of Martha in Luke 10. I have to cook. I have to make this elaborate meal. It has to be good because my guest is Jesus, right? I don't want to mess this up. And she's juggling it all, and this good-intentioned hospitality has been pressure cooked into a ball of stress. Luke 10:40, but Martha was distracted with much serving. Okay, and her busy stress comes out in frustration. Look what she says. Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? See that? It's all on me. Where's my help? And she tells Jesus, hey, tell her then to help me, okay? So pressure to uphold an expectation has come out now in frustration, and she's trying to exert control. Now, it doesn't have to look like frantic and frustrated Martha. You could be cool, calm, collected on the outside, but inside, the everyday weight of just trying to be the dad I need to be, the husband I need to be. I try to go to work, make my sales quota, just not fail, right? Try to be strong. That can eat you away. Maybe it's your studies at school and trying to be perfect. Maybe it's the pressure of dating even. Maybe it's a religious version like the Pharisees. I just gotta get better at this. I gotta obey this, right? And the weight that they put on, as the Pharisees put it on the people, was just overwhelming. Or if you're in that vein, and this was me for many, many years, maybe you're more like Paul, pre-salvation, he's crushing it. And so the pressure is actually pushing him to the top, and he's full of pride. Maybe another example is sometimes when it comes with success. Have you ever done something well, and then you immediately feel the pressure to keep doing it well, right? Win the Super Bowl, and then the next day it's next season. Are they going to repeat, right? In 1 Kings, Elijah, immediately after his victory over the prophets of Baal, the smackdown on Mount Carmel, amazing moment. Immediately after, he succumbs to intense fear and burnout. It's amazing. Jezebel wants him killed, and he flees, and he just spirals. And I have to think, what's going through his head is oh, I thought it was over. I thought we won. And it's oh, nope, right back to the grind. It's just this unending pressure, and it can crush you. Number two, a plan-driven pressure. Ensure the destination. Hey, I've got goals, I've got plans, and there's pressure to make sure this outcome happens, right? And so whether that's through my strategy or my effort, my organization, I want to control the variables, eliminate risks, manage the situation so meticulously that we arrive at this end. And we especially do this when life feels out of control. So we have to subdue the chaos, right? Create order. Make sure what I want to happen happens. In other words, this is getting the result. That's what it is about. Okay, this is Jonah. This is Salome, the mom of James and John, who goes to Jesus and tries to ensure that her boys get the best seats at the table. Number three, problem-driven pressure. Find the explanation. I have to figure out the solution. Find the answer, troubleshoot, and fix. I think a common example for us is a health battle. Like so many of y'all have gone through trying to figure out this chronic situation and what's underneath it, what's causing it. Oh, if I can only just get to the bottom of it, then it'll be alleviated, right? So we investigate and we tinker, we plunge into the information. We're just trying to crack the code because life just feels like one big Rubik's Cube. This is Abraham and Sarah. Remember, God promised a son. 10 years go by. Sarah's still barren. Nothing's happened. And I could just hear Sarah rationalizing, come on, Abe, but we got to do something here. God needs us to help him out. Right? So she offers up a plan to solve the dilemma, Genesis 16:2, and her plan is Hagar. And look what she says. It may be that I shall obtain children by her. This is what we often say. Maybe blank. It may be that this is how it's supposed to be done. And so the pressure of her barrenness and the pressure of this problem, and she starts taking matters into her own hands. Number four, protection-driven pressure. I don't want to lose this or let it get damaged. So I have to stay on guard and I have to keep it safe and vigilantly guarantee it's okay. That could be your kids. It could be your house, your investments. It could be a position you're in or even a relationship. I can't let anything happen to this. And so we hover in order to feel secure, okay? And sometimes we'll snap into a really swift reaction like Peter when he cuts off the ear of the soldier to protect Jesus, right? Sometimes it's inaction and we're paralyzed like the parable of the talents. The guy with the one talent, he's afraid, doesn't know what to do, so what does he do? He just buries it and does nothing. Sometimes we scramble mentally and our mind just won't stop thinking, maybe even obsessively about how to protect this, like a watchman, okay? And a watchman's not a bad term, it's a good term, okay? But look at how Psalm 127 says, unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. And it's in vain that you rise up early and go to bed late, eating the bread, oh, this is a piercing phrase, y'all, of what? Anxious toil. All your pacing on the wall, all your hyper protection, it's anxious toil if it's not released to the real watchman. Okay, number 5, perception-driven pressure. Manage the reputation. Oh man, I gotta maintain an appearance or a certain image from others. It could be physical, could be your character, like, oh, I'm the strong one, I'm the calm one, I'm the wise one. Oh, you're so good at your job, you can handle a lot, or your family's put together, you're so nice, or you're so funny, and so then you feel pressure to keep that up, and it feels like a constant presentation. There's a lot of biblical examples, and some of them will include peer pressure. We mentioned Aaron a few weeks ago, like coming down the mountain, Moses finds him, totally succumbed to the Israelites, like he gave in. Sometimes it's comparison, the pressure, and so like all the wars through the Old Testament of women over like who can have the most kids, and it's just this back and forth. keeping up with each other. Or the Pharisees, we mentioned them, so concerned with their appearance and being respected. When we go this route, it leads us into great sin. Ananias and Sapphira, they cared more about how they were being viewed and seen. It was deadly compromise. Even Peter gives into this pressure in Galatians, okay? He draws back from eating with the Gentiles. Why? Because he's afraid of the Jews and what they're going to think of him. And you remember, Paul has to confront him head on. Another example was really shocking to me. 1 Samuel 15:30 is Saul. He wants to keep faith even in the midst of his own sin. Look what he says to Samuel. I have sinned, yet honor me now before the elders of my people and before Israel. What? Are you seeing this? Yeah, I've sinned, but make sure everyone sees my good side, Samuel. I don't want to be exposed. I'm the king. I got to make sure I'm admired and hold it all together. Is this not what we so often do? It's dishonoring to the Lord. All these forms of pressure. What I'm trying to show you, what is our natural human response to pressure? Control. Gather the information, filter the presentation, steer the conversation, regulate the operation, because I have to uphold the expectation. I have to ensure the destination, solve the explanation, guard the preservation, manage the reputation. And so what I'll do is I'll use my determination and my innovation and my calculation and my negotiation and my preparation, because that's how I'm going to find salvation in my situation. Do you see how pressure leads to control? It's our number one response. It's how we all try to handle it. And listen, when we can't handle it, we do one of two things. We're like a volcano. Now, pressure has built, and we'll either collapse or combust. Okay? Collapse when the intense heat melts the rock and the structure itself of a volcano implodes. Okay? It creates a gaping hole. It's called a caldera. Falls in on itself. This is like Crater Lake. Or we combust, we erupt. There's nowhere else for the pressure to go, and so it just escapes out in a big, giant mess. And that could look like an outburst of rage and anger. It could look like volatile, bad decision-making. You're just kind of impulsive. Could be attacking or blame shifting. It could just be coping, and you're just escaping into things to numb out. Pressure will eventually break us. Implode or explode. Crumble or combust. Now, before we get to the solution, I want to look at a case study in the scriptures, a deeper look at a guy and his wife who really embody, honestly, all of these, it's protection-driven, plan-driven, all of them at different points, you name it. His life is marked by one giant attempt to control the pressure. I'm talking about Jacob. Okay? From day one, coming out of the womb, grabbing his twin brother Esau's heel. That's what Jacob means. He who grasps. Okay? He who supplants or manipulates. Great name, right? Don't worry. Lord redeems, bro. Lord redeems. Jacob grows up as a bit of a mama's boy. Esau is the hunter. He's the outdoorsman, right? Like his dad, Isaac. And so from early on, there's this unspoken pressure to be more like your brother from dad. And then there's this pressure from mom to get ahead of brother, okay? And so opportunistic Jacob one day sees Esau coming back hungry from the field, and he strikes a deal, right? He sells him some stew to what? Get the birthright. Birthright means, double inheritance, but it means more than that. It means the judicial authority to regulate all the family affairs after dad dies, AKA control. A few chapters later, Genesis 27, the blessing scene, Rebekah, his mom, comes up with the plot. And Jacob goes along with the manipulation. They deceive his old age dad to speak the blessing over him instead of Esau. All trying to what? To take control. But now Jacob has to flee from his angry brother. He's on the run. A few chapters later, he spots Rachel, right, and is smitten. And man, he develops a great plan to get the wife he wants. It's an intense plan, okay? I'll work 7 years for her. Whew. That's a lot. Dedication right there. Like, this isn't just a first date feels kind of a thing. Like, Jacob's all in, okay? And he's a hard worker. Seemed like a few days for him because of his love for her. Things at this point are going pretty well for Jacob, okay? He's got his birthright, he's got his blessing, he's got his babe, okay? He's got it all. Until wedding night, right? Oops. Yeah, the schemer gets schemed by his father-in-law, Laban, right? And now what? He's all of a sudden got 2 wives now, and they're sisters? Like, there's crazy TV shows about this kind of stuff, right? Like, this is major dysfunction, and it was. Genesis 30, Rachel is barren, and this uncontrollable thing, having kids, is driving her. Look at Genesis 30, 1 and 2. Give me children or I shall die. Whoa. Being in control of her family plan has now become the driving force of her life. Rather than contentment and trust in God, she's taking matters into her own hands, okay? She has created a pressure that is so intense that then she tries to solve it by giving Jacob her servant for surrogate kids. I'm going to arrange the variables to get the outcome. If God's not giving me this, I'll have to get it myself. And Genesis 30 is this back and forth battle between Rachel and Leah for control and worth through having more kids. I mean, it is messed up drama and strife, okay? And the pressure only builds, and it doesn't satisfy. Genesis 30, 23, God eventually opens Rachel's womb, and what does she name him? Joseph, saying, may he add to me another. Thanks, Mom. You finally get a boy, and like you can't even enjoy that one. Like this is showing us how ridiculous the carousel of control is. It's like putting pieces into a puzzle that's ever expanding. And then, if you remember the story, comes the sheep debacle. Oh yeah, this is crazy, right? Jacob feeling the pressure to provide for his family, and oh, by the way, escape his crazy father-in-law, right? Comes up with a deal with Laban to get all the sheep and the goats. Like, these are going to be his wages, the ones that are spotted or striped, okay? The rest will go to Laban. Okay, seems, whatever. But then Jacob tries to manipulate the breeding process, okay? So he can get as much for himself as he can. Now catch this. Here's how he does this. I don't know if you remember this. He has the sheep look at spotted and striped things while they mate. Do you see how pathetic that is? God's showing us, this is what you look like when you try to control your life. It's insane. It makes no sense. Genetically, this doesn't work. And yet somehow it does work. Why? Because God's behind it all. He's the one actually controlling. And so Jacob begins to acquire all this wealth. Laban gets mad. Oh, what do you know? Jacob's on the run again. And the pressure finally climaxes in Genesis 32 as his past comes knocking again, his brother Esau. He's greatly stressed out, okay? He sends gifts ahead of him to try to appease Esau. He has his escape plan already in case this doesn't go well. Like, he's just trying to control everything. Until a mysterious figure meets him one night and wrestles with him. By the time it ended, Jacob is convinced he's wrestled with God himself. He's left with a limp from this life-changing encounter. And his name gets changed to Israel, he who strives with God. This is what all controllers do. We contend with the Creator. And when we try to control our lives, this is the imagery God's given us. It's like we're wrestling God. It's like we're striving for the throne. And it's like a kid wrestling with their dad. They're wrestling. Oh, right. And often God has to leave us with a limp that will humble us, that will lead us to surrender. And that's when the pressure gets released. Which is why Jacob comes to say, just a matter of verses later, he finally calls God, my God. Up until then, it was the God of my fathers. But no. Now it's my God, mine. He finally surrenders to God's control. And it's the turning point in the entire story. Okay? He starts recognizing that all the protection and blessing he's had throughout his life was not from his own schemes, not from making stuff happen himself, but from the Lord all along. And this story shows us graphically when we give in to thinking like, I have to, I better, if I don't, oh no, I must. It's all on me. When we clench the steering wheel with two hands, it's showing us we only drive things further out of control. Oh, there's a better way. A way I want us to see where pressure doesn't win. Now, I want to remind us before we get into some truths here, not all pressure is bad. There's healthy pressure and unhealthy pressure, okay? The need to provide for your family keeps you showing up to your job and working hard. That's not a bad thing. That's a God-given responsibility. Pressure is not automatically negative, okay? Take working out. My wife tells me this all the time. If you don't have any strain, any load-bearing stress on your muscles, you know what happens? They turn into jello, okay? They get loose and they decay and deteriorate, okay? A certain amount of pressure on them is what actually keeps them strengthened, all right? Or take, for example, how many of you, like, you've swum to the bottom of a pool? You know, it's like maybe 6 feet, maybe 8 feet, 9 feet, and you start to feel it on your ears and what, like the pressure, right? You sort of, maybe you've scuba dived and you've gone 20, 30 plus feet. Like you can really feel the compression on your whole body. Like the outside pressure is greater than the inside pressure. And so the weight of the water is just holding you down, okay? Physically hurts. Now, catch this though. Go the opposite direction, you go high enough, and what happens? Well, the outside barometric pressure is too low, right? The air thins, so at 10,000 feet, you start to get altitude sickness. At 18,000 feet, the pressure is actually half of sea level. At 26,000 feet, you know, this is called the death zone, right? Death zone, the brain starts to swell. Gases inside our lungs expand rapidly or they burst. Like, it's not compression, it's decompression, right? Like, and if you get high enough, like cruising altitude of jets and beyond, your body catches, your blood will actually boil because of the lack of counter pressure. It's crazy. Like the answer, what I'm trying to show you is not no pressure. Okay? There's actually no such thing as a pressure-free world this side of heaven. That's impossible. Stress-free, strain-free life. No one can create that, and no one can maintain that in a Genesis 3 sin-saturated world. In fact, just trying to eliminate pressure is pressure, right? Like, I'm just stressed out, trying not to be stressed. Now, I'm not saying Sabbath isn't important, and I'm not saying stewardship isn't important, or you don't need to say no to things, or you don't need to take care of your body, or be organized, or self-control. Like, no, all those things matter, and they help reduce some, pressure and stress. But the point is that no level of doing all that can eliminate it. The goal, let me say it this way, is not stress removal, but stress resilience. We all feel weight. Jesus felt weight. The question is, how do we handle it? We can't live underwater and we can't live in the air. We have to stay grounded. And the first thing I want to take us to, we got to ask our question, who told you that? When you have a thought of pressure, I have to, I must, I better. Who told you that? A parent? A boss? Spouse? Or God? Is this something Scripture says I'm supposed to solve? Supposed to protect? Supposed to uphold? Is it a God-given responsibility, or is it from man, or from myself, or from Satan? Because if it's not God, if it's not a biblical expectation on you, you need to reject and release it. Like, that's not a pressure I'm going to carry. That's false pressure. I'm going to stop serving that as a slave. Now, if it is from God, it's a biblical responsibility, then we need to bear it. But not as the sole carrier of the outcome, right? Like, we don't even have that amount of power. There's a freeing way instead to handle the appropriate pressure. So here we go. Here's our 5 truths to take pressure thoughts captive. Number 1, Surrender to God in the pressure. Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. When we're taking pressure on ourselves, it's on me, there's a direct connection of losing sight of God's godness. Right? Where is God? Well, he seems to be absent. Doesn't seem like he's handling this. Or maybe you think, well, I know God's there, but it's really still up to me. Like God's like the parent in the stands cheering me on, but like I still got to do it all. A world without God has lots of pressure, you guys. Trying to be the problem solver and the planner and the performer and the protector comes with massive pressure. And so we often take the reins and try to be God ourselves. And I need to bust our bubble for a moment. Listen, control is just an illusion, y'all. And you know this. Like we think we're in charge. We think we're managing the situation, but it's just like Jacob. Like we think we're at the control panel punching the buttons. No, it's an illusion. In his heart, a man plans his course, but what? The Lord determines his steps. And that's true from Jacob to Joseph to Jesus. He's the one ultimately steering it all. And so when we say, or we think you better or else, like let's play that out for a moment, or else what? Because the reality is, even if I do all this, I still might not get this outcome, right? And the reality is, even if I don't do this and I don't do this well and I fail, guess what? God's love and grace and goodness is still there. And so, man, like there's so much freedom to be imperfect and weak and not hold everything together. Why? Because he is holding everything together. That's the point. And so we gotta be still. The word is rapha in Hebrew. It literally means to cease striving. Okay? Stop your motion and commotion. At its root, it means to let your hands go slack. Right? Take your hands off it. Stop gripping it. Release. Let go. That's rapha. We can't control everything. We can't fix everything. We can't handle everything, and that's okay. You can release that pressure to the one who is, and it's so, so freeing. If you read the rest of that psalm, even verse 1, God is our refuge and strength, what, a very present help in trouble. Man, don't you want that? That's everything we want. And the rest of the psalm goes on to just show his sovereignty, literally over everything, creation to the nations and wars. He can start anything, he can stop anything, and therefore be still and know that I am God. Not you, not me. God says, I got this. So you can be still and quiet and surrender. That's really the key word, right? When you come under me as God, he's saying you can exhale. That pressure valve is released. Look at verse 11. It's beautiful what it says at the end. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob. Oh, interesting. Who? Jacob, the God of the controller, is our fortress. Selah, which means sit on that, right? Rest in that. Put that in your spiritual pipe and breathe it, baby. That's what Selah means. Not literally, but So do you see how God's godness, his control, this is our first foundational step in taking pressure thoughts captive. We don't have time really to go to Exodus 14, but oh man, I want to, right? Israelites penned in between Pharaoh and the Red Sea. They're freaking out. They got nowhere to go, right? All that pressure, literally compressed, surrounded on every side, right? And remember, it's no accident they're there. God's been steering them to Nuweiba Beach, not so they could muster up their own plans and get out of the jam, not so they could grab their swords and slice their way through the enemy. It's what? It's to surrender. Exodus 14. This is what the Lord says. Fear not. Stand firm and watch me. Watch me work your salvation, because the Lord will fight for you, and you have only what? To be silent. God's saying the pressure's not on you, man. It's on me. And watch me work. Truth one, surrender to God in the pressure. Truth two, we're saved by God from the pressure. 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you that's not common to man. God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure. What does this have to do with pressure, Tyler? The word temptation also means trial or test, perosmos in the Greek. It literally means a pressure-filled circumstance, okay? Could be your own thoughts. Could be the enticement from Satan, actual temptation. Could be someone else's sin against you. Could just be suffering, hardship. All these apply. And what's Paul saying? Well, he's normalizing it. He's saying nothing's happening to you that's unique, that's uncommon. You're not the first to face this pressure and have that internal thought loop, which is kind of nice, right? Like he's telling us we're not crazy. That's helpful because we have a tendency to like amp the heat up when a trial or a temptation comes and we think, man, our situation is so uniquely bad. We're caught off guard and we're surprised by it. Or we compare it to everyone else. And we start telling ourselves, you just got to handle this. Why aren't you handling this? The pressure's just ratcheting up. God's grounding us here. And then he immediately turns us vertically. God is faithful. See that? His answer isn't outward. Hey, there's no pressure. His answer isn't inward. Oh, you can handle the pressure. His answer is upward. Faithful God. His presence in the pressure is the difference. Listen, it's really easy to forget God's faithfulness when the heat is on. Man, and your mind is going a million miles an hour trying to solve and tinker and figure it all out, right? And he's saying, we got to specifically remember this aspect of God's character. It's not just that he's sovereign and in control, it's that he's faithful. In other words, everything he said he'll do, he'll do. He makes good on. He's not leaving you on your own. He will uphold you. That's what this means. And that's the difference maker. He won't let you be tempted or tested or pressed beyond your ability. Well, wait a minute, Tyler. A few weeks ago, you literally shouted at us that he would give us more than we can handle. Yep, absolutely. There's a lot of those situations where it's just more than enough for us on our own. That's still true here. All it's saying is the X factor is the faithful God. He's upholding you so that you won't be overcome, you won't implode or explode, right? And it's not because of our faithfulness, our ability to handle it all, but because of his. That's the whole point. Yeah, there's a storm raging, but he's with you in the boat. That's why he's able to say he'll also provide the way of escape, rescue. I want to say it this way to us today. God won't ever allow a higher degree of pressure than he will provide the ability to either get out of, escape, or bear under, endure. Oh man, how encouraging is that? That's what 1 Corinthians 10 is saying. It's saying, hey, it may be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to overwhelm you. And the way of escape is not always that things get nice and easy and pretty and nothing's hard. No. More pressure waits around the next bend, even if circumstances change. The way of escape is the faithful God. It's not getting around the trial or avoiding the trial. It's clinging to him in the middle of it. That's the real pressure release. And so the hope of this passage is that the battle against pressure is not unwinnable. It may knock you to your knees. You may cry out to God, but it doesn't have to crush you. Which leads right into the third truth. 2 Corinthians 4, we are sustained by God under the pressure. It says this, 4:8, we are afflicted in every way, or your version might say we are hard-pressed, but not crushed. Word for afflicted, phlibo, it comes from a wine press, okay? The stepping on of grapes, the crushing, the squeezing, right? Well, how can you be stomped on but not crushed, Tyler? How can you be compressed but not collapse or combust? Like how? Like how in the world can you do that under such pressure? Well, verse 7 says what? We're like a jar of clay, okay? I don't know how much you know about pottery, but clay jars, fragile, okay? Newsflash, breakable, shatters into 1,000 pieces, very susceptible to pressure. 18 years ago, I was given this exact passage to preach in seminary, okay? And in order to kind of display what pressure could do to something fragile, I brought an egg with me. Okay, this is when props were cool, right? No egg today, you can see, right? And good thing I didn't bring an egg today, because you know what happened? I got all excited, I demonstrated this, I squeezed, and it shattered, of course, and guess what happened? The yolk squeezed through my fingers right here, shot out into the audience and landed on someone. No lie, right? Yeah, so good thing I didn't bring an egg today, okay? That's what pressure does to a jar of clay. Oh, but then I had a second egg, right? And it was a hard-boiled egg, really good one, Tyler, right? And I couldn't crush it. Maybe you can. I'm not a power lifter, okay? Sorry, I can't do it. But some of y'all might, but I couldn't, okay? Why? What's the difference? Is the shell now strong? No, the shell's the same, just as weak, actually thinner. Okay? Jar of clay is still a jar of clay. What's the difference? Something's happened internally. Something's been solidified. The heat has fortified. So all you structural engineers know now, so the pressure is being what? The load is being dispersed evenly to a solid core. And it can withstand the pressure. That's what this passage is saying. We have this treasure in jars of clay. What treasure? Oh, the gospel treasure. That Christ saved us, and now it's come to live inside us through the Holy Spirit. That treasure, okay? We have the treasure of Jesus in this weak clay vessel. Why? It says, to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us, y'all. He's the opposite force inside pushing back against the pressure. It's not us. And that's the picture of how to endure. Endure literally means to bear under the weight. Stay in the hard. Persevere through the pressure. Right? It's not because we're holding it together. He's holding us together and pushing back. You football fans, we always see rookie quarterbacks come in, whether it's college, whether it's NFL, and they make the leap up, and they have a hard time adjusting to the speed of the game, right? It's all fast. They're really uncomfortable. As the pocket, the pressure literally is closing in on them. And they get happy feet, and they make bad decisions, and they run when they're not supposed to, and they, throw off balance and all this stuff, all because of pressure. But as time goes on, coaches start talking about the game slowing down. Slowing down. What does that mean? Does it mean the pressure stops? No, nothing changes about the pressure. It just means that what was overwhelming at first is now manageable. He's regulated to the pressure. The speed and the weight is no longer too much. He may be hard-pressed, but he's not crushed. Truth number 4, shaped by God during the pressure. Okay, remember, stress can be strengthening, right? There's a holy form of pressure, not the sinful temptation and not the false expectation, but a God-sustained trial. And when we get squeezed, what comes out? Look what Paul says, what comes out of him, 2 Corinthians 7:5. In all our affliction, there's that same word for pressing, I am overflowing with joy. Oh man, I want that to be true about me. God. Just get squeezed and what comes out of me? Joy in the Lord, man. James 1:2, this is why he can say, consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you face those trials, right? Because you know that the testing of your faith is producing something. It's producing steadfastness, endurance, hupomone, to bear under that weight, and that will keep going and make you complete, lacking in nothing. Oh, God can use these pressures like a master artist to sculpt and shape. Now, that doesn't happen by parachuting us out of the trial and hitting the eject button. It happens in the pressure. That's where he trains. That's where he weans us off of our attempts to control. Now, number 5, he's not just shaping us from the pressure, he's shepherding us through the pressure. You have a guide through the gauntlet. Look at Psalm 121 with me. I lift my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved, okay? Pressure against your foot, but he's holding you fast. He who keeps you will not slumber nor sleep. Did you catch that? Our watchman's not sleeping on the job. No. He's got this. Verse 5, the Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. What a beautiful image, protection from the scorching heat. By day, he's going to say, and from the cold, the bitter cold of night. The Lord will keep you, verse 7, from all evil. He will keep your life. He will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Wow, you want a pressure-busting passage? There you go. Psalm 121. I got a helper. I got a keeper. And you know what? The New Testament takes us to a new level because it calls this helper the Holy Spirit himself. Jesus says, I will send the helper to you. He's going to live inside of you. You talk about that ever-present help. And so there we go. There's our 5 truths. This is how we take pressure thoughts captive, y'all. And we convert I have to's into be stills. If I can just becomes I can trust. You better or else becomes even if. Hold it together becomes he's holding me together, and it's all on me becomes no, I have a helper. Do you see how game-changing this is? Like, are you feeling some freedom? Are you feeling some peace in the pressure? And when we do this, here's how I want to kind of lead us home here. We can start to do this. We can start to reject unhealthy pressure that's not from God. Okay? If you can throw this slide up, here's what I want us to do. We can reject unhealthy pressure that's not from God. We can remain under healthy pressure that is from God. And we can release the pressure to be God. Because here's the lie from today. The lie is you have to handle everything or else. But the truth comes into that and says, no. He can handle everything. And guess what? Through him, you can handle anything, necessary things, even hard things, without having to handle all things. Man, that's really freeing. Here's how we can summarize. Let's go back through those 5 truths. Surrender to God in the pressure. We see his sovereignty and our submission. So that's where it starts. Offload those wrong pressures. I don't have to solve this, fix this, fulfill this, protect this. I can release control to God. He is God, and I can rest in that. Number 2, saved by God from the pressure. It's about his faithfulness. That's my way of escape. That's what brings freedom. He'll deliver me from collapsing or combusting. He'll also help me to endure. Number 3, sustained by him under the pressure, right? This will allow me to be hard pressed, but not crushed, and so I can endure. Shaped by God during the pressure. Oh, he's producing good. Remember, like healthy stress is strengthening you. And then 5, shepherded through the pressure. Like you have the never leaving helper and keeper. That brings us to our main point, y'all. Pressure finds its healthy release as we surrender control and trust Jesus' sustaining power to hold us and hold all things together. There we go. And Christ did hold all things together. He has released us from the pressure by taking it on himself. I want to zoom back in. Jesus, think about this, fulfilled the performance-driven pressure of the righteousness of the law perfectly. And he ensured God's plan-driven promise that it would arrive at the destination of the cross. And in doing so, he took on our problem-driven pressure of sin. And he solved it once and for all because he didn't buckle under the load. He didn't collapse in the Garden of Gethsemane. No, he remained under it. And he surrendered to the Father. And he carried the full weight of the world's wickedness on his shoulders. Like, this is the gospel. And catch this. This is why we can be hard-pressed and not crushed. Because he was hard-pressed and was crushed for our iniquities. gospel. And then rising from the dead and ascending into heaven. You know what he's doing right now? He's taken on the pressure to protect our salvation, to guarantee it with his very own blood. That is our Jesus. He's handled all the pressure so that we don't have to. Oh man, have you surrendered to Jesus yet? Have you come to a moment in your life where you stopped striving and you've stilled your soul and you recognize he is God? Has that moment happened for you? Lord, Jesus is God. I'm going to release the illusion of control. Or are you still wrestling with him like Jacob? Well, today is the day. Please call on Jesus to be God. Submit to his good lordship and grace because he deserves every ounce of your surrender. Let's apply this passage today as we end. Let's kind of zoom in on these reflection questions as the band comes up. Let's ask ourselves, what self-talk, thoughts of pressure I have to are apparent for you, right? Like this is what we're doing every week. First step, let's identify those thoughts. Where am I saying I have to, I must? Pressure to start something, pressure to solve something, keep something going. Number two, where do you see yourself trying to take control of those situations in response to the pressure? Are you grabbing onto the plans? You taking the reins? I have to figure this solution out. You managing your image and reputation? I just got to keep performing. I think a good question to ask ourselves is like, how's that going for us, right? Like, what's that pressure doing? Are you collapsing? Maybe you're collapsing today, and this is like so freeing for you. Maybe you're combusting. You're spinning out of control. Maybe, though not. Maybe you're still controlling, and so you think it's all good, and you're handling everything, right? It's a dangerous place to be. Number three, who told you that? Let's break it down. Let's tease out that God-given responsibility that is right and good and healthy versus the unhealthy, unbiblical expectations. Offload what's unbiblical pressure. Depressurize what's not yours to carry. You know what? That's not in the scripture, so I'm not going to put that on myself. And then what is our God-given responsibility, it still doesn't mean it's all on us, right? Like, no, he's sovereign, I'm not. So I'm just responsible to be faithful, not to control it. And guess what? Even when I'm not faithful, he still is. The God of grace. Maybe you're walking through affliction and you're hard-pressed today, and you can know that it's his power that's holding you together. So like even when there is pressure, these truths change everything about how it feels, right? There's pressure within me, pushing back. Spend some time this week. Go back through those 5 truths. I want to put them back on the board in case you didn't see them. You can take a shot. But like this would be a great exercise. Carve out some time with the Lord this week and go, where am I breaking down? Where am I skipping? What do I most need today? About here's the lie, I have to handle everything or else. Here's the truth, no, he can handle everything. Like go back through these, right? And look, maybe I'm forgetting that he's the one sustaining me. And maybe I'm just not surrendering this to him. Or maybe like I forget that I have the helper and I need to call on him moment by moment. Like where is the Lord pricking you today? And let's pray together, church. And as we do, and if you need prayer today for just a stronghold to be broken, and maybe you've made agreement with one of these pressure thoughts. It'd be good to name that. See the Lord break those chains and bring freedom. Pressure doesn't have to control us because he controls the pressure. Lord Jesus, we thank you. Thank you this morning for those wonderful reminders that we can actually be still and know that you're God. God, it so often is too much for us to handle. It is overwhelming. We feel the weight of the world. We feel the busyness and speed of life, and we think it is on us. Would you set us free from those false thoughts today? Where there's wrong pressure, help us to offload it. Where there's right, good, God-given responsibility, help us still, Jesus, to be refreshed by the reminder that you're on the throne. And it's not all on us, and we can't even control it even if we tried. that you're the one, you're the faithful one who's got this in your hands. And so we release things to you now. We lean back in your loving arms. For the sake of your name, would you remove the pressure? In Jesus' name, amen.